Today's Startup Masterclass is featuring Kevin Hoong. So Kevin is one of the most accomplished people I know in business development and sales. We worked together back, oh my God, almost 10 years ago back at Airbnb. So as I was telling everybody, Kevin was working on the Malaysia side of Airbnb's expansion. During the time he was there, I think he was signing up partnerships with banks and doing some other amazing stuff with big music festivals and getting the word of Airbnb out there. Following that, Kevin, I think, joined a startup that did venture building that was really interesting called Hype. And after that, he rejoined his family's business and is working on some really interesting stuff right now in Malaysia. So let me introduce everybody and get everyone acquainted. So let me go to Nadine first. Nadine, maybe you can tell us who you are and what you want to learn from hanging out with Kevin.
Hello, Kevin. Nice to meet you. So, I'm Nadine. I'm one of the Bukit Vista team here. I'm working on reservations, and I also now in Universitas Gadjah Mada, one of the university in Indonesia. And I'm still learning, still pursuing my tourism degree. And yeah, I would like to learn more about you, about your experience in business development and sales. Looking forward for that. Thank you,
All right,
Kevin.
perfect. Let's go next to Cynthia. Cynthia, go ahead and let's have you introduce yourself and tell us what you want to learn from Kevin.
Okay, thank you, sir. And hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you. I'm Cynthia, and I'm currently working in Yogyakarta. I'm part of the human research and public relation teams. And the things that I'd like to know and to learn is actually, we would like to target the right sales and business development people. And I hope from you later we could know what kind of that we should get. And I believe that you will share about the business development.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Let's go next to Rama.
Okay. Hi, Kevin. My name is Rama. I'm currently in Japan right now pursuing my undergrads degree, and I'm in Bukit Vista, part of the business development team. And that's why I wanted to learn from you based on your experience on doing business development. And well, who knows that I'm gonna be like be in the development business development department later on in the future. So looking forward for learning from you. Thank you.
Okay,
Back to you,
perfect. Thank you,
Jing.
Rama. All right, let's
Thanks,
go
Rama.
over to Gunny.
Hello, Kevin. My name is Gani. I'm part of digital marketing of Bukit Vista. Nice to meet you. Looking forward to learn a lot from your side from business development. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, next to Rizal, and I guess Wayana already knows Kevin, but Rizal and Wayana.
Okay, thank you, sir. Hello, Kevin. Nice to meet you. So, in this
Hi.
chance, I want to learn about the strategy, how you manage the team, how to motivate the team to increase the sales. Basically. Yeah, nice to meet you, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you again. And
Hi,
you have a
Wayan.
good evening, by the way.
You too.
Yeah, and actually, like, I'm in the phase now building a sales team, but from it, and then basically thinking of like scalable and effective way, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. And last, I think we have Kevin. Kevin, meet Kevin, please.
Hi Kevin, yeah, nice meeting you. My name is also Kevin. Yeah, currently I'm working for the HR team in Bukit Vista, and yeah, we're looking to like hire sales and business development people. So yeah, from this I'm hoping to learn to maybe to know the strong points to look out for our sales and business development candidates. So yeah,
Sure.
Okay.
Cool. Nice meeting you.
Perfect. Okay, all right. That's all of us over here, Kevin. So the theme of this discussion is this: everybody here is involved in one of the sort of the strategic plans that we have for the company, we're trying to build out a better sales team. And so the theme of this discussion is really around like what everyone has talked about, this idea of how you build a really good sales team. So I'll sort of give a little bit of some guideposts, and then I'll let you kind of just sort of go with it. We want to know like what kind of attributes you're actually looking for when you decide to put somebody on your sales team. And because you're looking for attributes, what do you decide to train? And then what are sort of like the must-have experiences or the knowledge of the attributes of somebody on your team? Maybe let's just start with that. Like, what do you think is that first step to creating like a really successful sales team?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, everybody. It's nice to meet you guys. And if I can just take a few steps back and try to understand your team's definition of sales, correct me if I'm wrong, but presumably these salespeople are recruited to onboard and to look for properties, right? More on the supply side, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And because like the definitions for sales and marketing is like different according to different countries, different organizations. So it's important to lock that down. And perhaps also a little bit about my background in the company. You're either tech or you're sales. So, even when you're in HR, you're actually also doing sales, convincing your own staff or engaging with them, selling something to them, or recruiting new people, right? So it's not really just a single division's skills, right? I think many divisions need the expertise of a sales team. Personally, I've done multiple types of sales. Business development usually is a title given when a role is a lot broader. It's not very specific, right? Like going to sign partnerships is not really sales, right? There's sales element, but in my mind, a sales team is like very specific to have that revenue. If your job is not tied to revenue, and the revenue is not attributed to you alone, then the job is like maybe 20, 30% or 50% sales. But if it's like 80, 90%, then like, okay, you are a sales team because revenue, you hold the responsibility of getting revenue. So in my history of my work the last couple of years, I think I've been doing more of the BizDev type of sales, but I've also been in a team where we were moving towards more and more towards a revenue, right? Because when you're in a startup, sometimes the sales target could be non-revenue related, but it's the indicator before maybe number. We want to achieve $1 million, and out of that $1 million, 500,000 come from a sales team, and individually you're given like 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, right? I think that is really important, and of course how you distribute it depends on either your seniority, your experience, or whatnot, right? So I think number one, that's important. The second one is the infrastructure. So the infrastructure can come from either resources. So what kind of tools that you guys use to manage sales, either tracking, monitoring, or basically this tool, right? Like tracking and monitoring and attributing, like that. Those are very important tools. And the third one, I would say the most important thing to have set up in a sales organization is incentives, right? So I'm sure, I don't know if Jing has that set up for you guys, but I'm sure there's some element of it. But that is super important to drive a sales team, because without that, why are you doing sales, right? So I've seen incentives vary from different amounts, but I think that's one where that really drives a lot of sales individuals. So when it comes to hiring, anything you want to add, Jing, like before I go give my thoughts on hiring?
No, I think that's actually very good. I liked how, Kevin, you instilled this consciousness that sales belongs to all different departments, even if they're not directly involved in sales. That I think is the very heart of the sort of the tech company attribute. You're either selling something or you're developing technology. That part I think is super crucial. And I like the 360 that you gave, that essentially you need to have clear lanes and clear targets for everybody. This idea of creating the right infrastructure so that you can attribute, and I think incentives. I think this is a good foundation to launch into the next part. So the current milestone that we're trying to reach in our roadmap is we're trying to actually find, build people who can go and develop partnerships. We have some interns right now that are experimenting with it, and we have teams that are trying to develop better infrastructure for it. But now comes, like, I think that magical drop, that person who's going to actually sit in that role and develop that particular role well. So it's perfect. Go right ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, with that, it's also, when I talk about infrastructure, there are also things like resources. In a more robust organization, you have the role of marketing and sales that is split, right? Like marketing is typically lead generation, sales is typically closing, right? Lead generation and qualification. Usually in between marketing and sales, you have a sales rep. Like sales rep is usually a qualifier. So you look at the lead and say yes or no, right? Then you pass it on to the next person, to the salespeople to close it. So it's very important that you have a methodology, even though you don't have a big sales team, but like you have a separate role to differentiate lead gen, qualification, and closing. Because otherwise, all your sales team will do is like qualifying, and you get all kinds of shitty leads, and you have to work from scratch. So it's also important to give the resources of qualification. So whether it be like a very built up deck or a very well built up value proposition, that once the lead goes through it, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. It suits me. Now I want to talk to a salesperson, right? Like if 9 out of 10 times the lead talks to you and it's not warm, you're wasting resources. Like you're doing the whole qualification from scratch. So
Yep.
I'm more for organizations that can automate these stuff rather than like hiring 100 salespeople and just go and repeat the same shit all over again, which is not scalable.
Understood. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And
so when it comes to hiring, hiring is one of those questions or business problems that everybody faces. But I don't think it's different when it comes to sales, or rather, it's not that different. Hiring for sales, you have to understand that like different types of personalities have different strengths at sales. Doesn't mean that if you're an extrovert, you're good at sales, and introvert, you're not good at sales, right? Like you gotta find your edge on what type of salesperson you are, because some people are like better analytical sales. Some person are like more, they're more aggressive, and they do more like sweet talking, and trying all those different methods of like going for the relationship card. But then you might have customers who don't really care about that. So it would be good to have a diversity of sales personalities, so that you can like switch around like when you face different types of customers, right? Of course, the person who can speak well is always preferred, but it's not I don't think it's a deal breaker, as long as you can find your strength and how you engage with different types of customers. That really is when it comes to sales. But like it's all about the attitude and the self-driven things, and I won't go through all the default things that you really need to look for in an employee. But the other thing that I wanted to say about, I lost my train of thought, but I had a point that I wanted to make about recruiting for sales. I'll come back to it. But in short, there are things. Oh yeah, there are things that you can train for, and then there are things that you can't. So what are the ones that you can train for? I always think good sales organization is when you have good processes and best practices, right? When it comes to emails, when it comes to outreach, when it comes to going through the pipeline, asking the right questions. These are like playbook stuff that you should have. And it's not really about like training the person to build certain skills or personalities, but like it's a discipline of like how your internal sales flow should have, so that you can always get the level of accuracy or increasing your conversion based on certain things that you do, right? Like either email. Like I've been in organizations where the customers will ask the same question, right? They'll ask like the list of the same question over and over again. Like, why do you have to type it out every time, right? Build templates, but of course, don't make it canned. And also, and also being able to anticipate these things and speed up the process. Because for me, I think about sales as, the time taken to close the deal and the every stage, right? Like if every year I can bring 10 people from prospecting to negotiation, like I'm doing something right. So what is that? What is that? What is the right thing to do to get them from one stage to another? And every sales team should have that on their playbook.
Understood. Okay, Kevin, this is actually pretty interesting. So let's dig into this question a little bit deeper. You just mentioned earlier there are some key attributes. Do you think that the key attributes, how would you prioritize the key attributes to a great salesperson, for a great sales hire? And how might these attributes be different than another type of employee, do you think?
Yeah, I think the go-getters and the self initiatives, like those are just really either you have it or you don't. Like to train someone to be in a way like an individual contributor, like you will solve problems yourself rather than not to say not being a team player, but like if you're looking at hitting your sales target, in some sense you need that animal spirit of being able to do things and figure it out your own, right? Rather than being resourceful. Because as a salesperson, sometimes like you have to customize your own slides. You can't go to a marketing team and say, "Can you like do this for me?" Right? And sometimes you have to pick up that phone call at 12 midnight for whatever reason. Just being super resourceful. And usually that's a signal of somebody with more hunger than the other. Right. I think that's one where I always look out for in any hire, but particularly for sales, because you just always have to be like always be closing, right? Like you always have to think about how can I close this, that's just a kind of attribute that not everybody has. If you don't have, then maybe you're better being a supportive role, right? Like you play a more supportive role to a sales team, whether as a resource person, like providing the sales page, or rather the sales deck, or supporting them getting leads, right? Rather than talking to the leads themselves, like you get those leads rather than driving the initiatives yourselves.
Understood. And Kevin, how do you test for hunger? How do you look out for that? Like what is the most efficient scalable test that you have for finding that?
It's hard. There's no way you can. Yeah, you like have it in your gut, or you ask them questions. But even if you ask them questions, they can always bullshit. They can always tell you a sob story about when they had no money and they, So it's really hard. You might get it wrong, but you might get it right. So it's hard to filter for that. You gotta go with your gut a bit for that one. Yeah.
Okay, but you would definitely need to have that in order to see like a successful sales hire, right? They would definitely need to have that drive, that hunger, that like I need to always be closing something. I need to be driven to complete my deals. Okay, got it. That actually is very important, I think. When you set achievable goals, now this is a really interesting question because setting goals, I think, is always an interesting discussion I have with the business intelligence folks, right? So on one aspect, we should set goals that based on what is theoretically possible. But I also believe in this messiah sort of effect where, this whole big, hairy, audacious goals. If we always set goals that are, achievable, that doesn't really challenge anybody to do amazing things. So in your philosophy, did you ever have any sort of internal strife, or like how do I really like set awesome goals that really inspire everybody, but not like goals that just discourage people because they're so so lunatically large. I mean, do you ever consider this problem, or like, what's your approach?
Yeah, I mean, it's always important to have some benchmarks, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's just another plug from the sky. So if you've been a company that's been running for like 10 years, it's good to first performance or average of the last 3 years. Of course, with COVID, like it's harder to find a stable average. But have that yeah, have that number to compare to, and then set some kind of percentage on top of it, right? What I like to do is I like to have a stretch and a base goal. So a stretch goal would be something that is a bit more aggressive, and then the base is like a discounted amount, right? So for example, you want to get 10,000 new listings, but then instead of 10,000 new, you can set 7,000 as a base, 10,000 as a stretch. Because at the end of the day, if you want to increase your goals, usually it comes with the cost, right? Either the cost of marketing or cost of hiring. So you usually have your base cost. So you would know that, okay, in order to get this growth, I will put in 1 or 2 more headcount, and I will put in X more marketing dollars. And that will be based on your cost of acquisition, right? To make sure that it's profitable. And also your cash flow and whatever. So from there, you always have some emergency fund, which is reserved for like when there is opportunity, right? You know that if I put in this more money, like I will get more business. Then you should use that for your stretch, right? And you should always communicate to your sales leaders and say, okay, like if you have any reason to come to me and tell me that you can use $10 to get 1,000 more listings, like the money is there for you, but you have to justify it, right?
Okay.
So that way you don't have any opportunity that goes off or leaves your table. And you always communicate to your sales leader that like, okay, just tell me how much you need, right? Like because you're on the front line, you know how much you need to close the deal. And I already gave you some basic amount, right? I already gave you or the marketing team some basic amount to get leads or to get whatever your sales deck or your design or whatever. And then for anything above that, the money is there if you can communicate that you can get the business.
Got it.
Got
it. Okay,
so that
really
is the stretch.
tactic. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's actually a really cool discovery and also an implementation of setting targets. That's really helpful. Let's talk about the uncomfortable truths, right? When the team isn't able to fulfill their sales goals, when there is let's say, slower progress than what we're expecting, how do you communicate this situation in a way that motivates and also creates the right expectation?
Yeah, the 2 reasons why one wouldn't hit the sales goal. Usually one is external and one is internal. So and of course one is company level and one is individual level, right? Like firstly, like ask yourself the honest question is like, one, is this external or is it because this either the company didn't make the decision or the individual didn't make the decision to get those goals, or whether they have not done enough to retain those goals or achieve those goals. It's very important, right, to distinguish external, internal, company, and individual. Because obviously then you know where to take action, right? Like if you take action on an individual where like to them they're like, oh, because the company said don't do villas, and that's it. So that is very important to decide. If it's an internal, then of course it's an individual contribution conversation, right? Then I'll need to talk to this individual staff and say, okay, what's going on, right? Like, can you tell me what was your difficulty to hit your goals, right? Is it personal? Like, is it something at home, or is it because you don't have the skill sets, you don't have the support, or you're just bad at your work, right? Then if you're bad at your work, then it's sending you a warning letter. Then of course, if it's company, like the matrix is if it's company, if it's external, or maybe even, I think it's unlikely that all individual will do bad at sales. Like if every individual is doing bad at sales, I think it's a clear sign that the company is not having the right strategic direction. Then it's a point of like sitting down and find a redirection. changing a strategy. So it's always good to review things like every 3 months or every 6 months, just so that you give it enough time to, run out your strategy. But if you need to pivot, if you need to change direction, like you got to do it fast, because otherwise everyone will just be demotivated and something's not right. And in 6 months time, there's two scenarios. One is you're completely way off target, right? You're like 80% off target. That's a clear sign. But there's another scenario where you're like, okay, maybe you're 50% from your benchmark, right? So instead of hitting 70% of your target, you hit 50%. So there's that 20% gap where, it's okay. This is like a 6 months target, right? Not a 12 months target. So people might feel like, oh man, like they're kind of unmotivated, and maybe there are also some externality issues. Then perhaps it's worth like reviewing your budget, or sorry, reviewing a target, and then make it lower the benchmark, right? Like bring it down so that you're hitting 60% instead of 50%, and for the rest of the year, right? And based on your previous year's number, so then at least your team is still like motivated. You still have your stretch, so instead of 100%, now your stretch is 90%, right? So then you can continue to feel motivated, yet don't cut yourself short on target. Right. So I think you have to look at it holistically a little bit, and consider these decisions to make, as a leader and as a team.
Got it. That's really wise. Okay, if I can break that down again, so you look at the internal factors and the external factors. If it's external factors, you need to react to in a strategical way to get the company positioned and aligned well. If it's internal, break it down into the individual. Take a look at the individual factors, personality. Not getting another job. What was the third one? You said, is it something
for internal?
Personal? Yeah, internal.
If they're bad, they're just bad at their job.
Oh, bad at their job, or not the right skill sets, right? Not the right training to do that. Okay, interesting. Okay, good. Let's talk about this individual for a moment here, and it kind of relates to an interesting question about incentives. So we had a discussion actually at the business intelligence level about whether or not incentives for all roles should be sales driven, right? In terms of bonuses. So what is your thoughts on that? Let's say, for example, somebody who is working on software development, should they have as much of a sort of a contribution to sales bonus as a salesperson should, or should a person working on business intelligence have the same thing? Or do you think this incentive needs to be structured differently for salespeople because of the nature of the work? And I ask that because there is a sort of an understanding that everyone, like you said, needs to hustle, and everyone needs to be hungry in order for the company to move in the right direction. But why do I feel, and perhaps the industry feels like salespeople need to be extra hungry to they need to have a thicker bonus component to get that behavior?
It really depends. In some companies, actually in most companies, maybe at a maybe medium SME level, salespeople's basic salary are less, so they have a less basic salary and higher commissions and higher upside. So they don't take a high fixed salary. So that is a reason why they have a preference for giving them more sales commission. Actually, you shouldn't call it bonus. Like I think it's better to call it like sales commission. Then it's a tier, and of course it's important to create that understanding between teams. Like why do they have such a structure that's different? And for them, they are also putting in the effort, right? But the effort is different, right? The effort for sales is different from effort of building the programming or building products or whatever. But you as a leader can make a decision for a group level bonus, right? So that everyone is aligned to that single company bonus. So that way you can distinguish, one is a group level goal, and then the other one is an individual sales goal, right? And then of course it's up to you to decide whether as a sales unit, like you also have a separate sales target goal, because usually not 100% of your goals are attributed to sales, right? Sales could bring in 50%. The other 50 is organic for whatever reason, right? So that's how you attribute your share of success.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's actually really good. I've asked actually most of my questions. I realized, and let me pass it around to everybody for their questions with Kevin here. Let me go to Lilith first. Lilith is just joined us, and she's leading our business intelligence chapter here at Bukit Vista. Lilith, over to you. Do you have any questions for Kevin based on our discussion so far?
Yes, thank you, sir, and hello, Kevin. Nice to meet you. My name is Lee.
Hi.
So I'm in business intelligence here. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that actually sales incentive. I think of that previously. Like today, our structure is bonus, right, sir? And
Yes,
after
that's
I
a really good
heard
bonus.
Kevin, it's like our previous before COVID, we have commission for the market builder, right? But
That's
we
correct.
don't have it for the reservation team, for example. And I
That's right.
think it's like very interesting if we implement it like for our reservation team or the HAR team, like where they actually like the what is that the upfront fighter in the sales and Bukit Vista, except
Correct.
the instant booking conversion, like they directly book to us. So um, perhaps the questions is how we would like to balance, like I mean, if we would like to give, we usually give bonus for personal development, but how we can combine that together basically for the basically the sales bonus and also the personal development bonus, like we also kind of curious on how we measure the personal development itself. We sometimes
Mm.
I don't really sure whether we make it objectively, but lately we use like subjective, not really subjective, like perhaps Jing will measure the personal development of person. Do you have any tips on how we can measure the personal development of person?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Lilis. I think there is two parts there to the question. Like one is more about how do you structure sales commission in general, and then the second part is individual performance and growth,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
That is more about the how you do it, right? Like how do you, because your job is not just about what you do, right? Like what you do is, I get 10,000 customers, but how you do it is a process in which you get those 10,000 customers, right? Did you break any laws? Did you steal, right? It could be different. So
Yep.
you need to have a fine balance of the how and the what. So for performance review, I think many different companies do it differently, and presumably you guys do it like once a year, or you have a 6 months, which is a midterm, to just kind of review things. But then the 1 year is to review your overall performance. And of course, there are different mechanisms to do it, right? Where my experience has been is looking at 360 review. So 360 is a concept, you can look it up online. Basically, the way to gather feedback is to get it from your direct report, your peers, and your managers. So there's 3 levels, right? Because you can't just review from top down, you can't just review from bottom up, you can't just review from your friends, right? Like it has to be 360 where everybody says the same thing consistently about you, right? Then there should be a series of questions. One is for the individual, it's a self-review. One is for your peer, and one is for your manager, right? So actually four. So then you get like four qualitative answers to how they think about their development, right? Or what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, or what could be done better. So from there, the manager, actually, if this is done via a manager system, the manager will review all this, and the manager will have a score sheet to assign these results. So of course, you need to list down like what are the what is important at Bukit Vista, right? Like you usually have a few elements, managerial and leadership, right? Or it could be analytical and analytical skills. Third one could be like customer service or a customer relationship management, right? The forefront could be, I don't know, something about teamwork. Then within that, you have different scoring, right? And then as a manager, you should take all these feedback to give it something quantitative, because review should be a bit of qualitative and quantitative. Then from there, you can justify, like, why did I decide to give this person this score? And what the score you're looking for is, if you look up like 5-banded performance review or 3-banded performance review, you have things like meet expectation, exceed expectation, greatly exceed expectation. So these structures give you a way to manage rewards, right? So if I am meet expectation, meaning, I done what the company asked me to do, then maybe there's only like a single-digit salary increase or half a month bonus. But if I have exceed expectation, maybe it's double, right? Double-digit salary increase and 2 months bonus. And then there's a tier. So in a company, ideally, you would have some kind of a bell curve where, you have most people in the middle, right? Then you have like 1 or 2 people that don't do well, and then you have 1 or 2 people that do really well. So then in a way, you have like the balance, you have a balanced distribution of really average people. Then you have a distribution of really smart people. I mean, you always find that distribution anyway, if your company reach like a large enough size, right? But if you're a great company, maybe everyone skews to the right, but you don't usually have everybody who do exceptionally well, because it's all a bell curve. So, so having that structure is important to holistically manage your performance review and performance management, and everyone in the company will know that, oh, I need to do ABC in order to get exceed expectation, and all these should be transparent.
Excellent. Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, because like perhaps I also often talk to Jing that we need to have like sort of A, B, C, D that they have to exceed, like so everyone can have the reference of where they should go basically. But I think we need to find it, sir. Like, yeah.
That's good. This is why we have these discussions, Alyssa. I think it's to reveal if we have any blind spots. Shailene is here also as well from HR. So let me point the question to her. Shailene, is there any questions that you would like to ask at the moment in terms of what Kevin has said in terms of hiring or the employee transformation service, which is what I think this idea of creating the right incentive structure and the right performance structure is?
Okay, so yeah, hi everyone. Hi Kevin. Sorry, I went in a bit late, so I kind of missed like the earlier discussions. But I think it's pretty interesting, like the insights that you shared just now. So currently the HR team is also like working on a few things. Like one of them is actually the employee transformation services. So we've been listing down like programs or services that we have currently in the company that actually enhance, and we want to like measure that. So in terms of like in terms of transformation, it's kind of abstract, right? So like we need to like set like a benchmark to actually like in like figuring out on how to actually like measure these things. So maybe a question to you, Kevin. What do you think like is the best like is the best or like the most common measures used to actually like measure performance or like things that are pretty like abstracts like this employee transformation? So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Shilin. Maybe if I can clarify a bit more, when you talk about employee transformation, like what is it that your team or your leaders are trying to achieve? Is it retention? Is it engagement? Or is it is it reducing stress? Or what are the goals here, like from a HR perspective? Because typically they're just these few things, right? You either want to keep them longer, or you ultimately it's about retention. Like, how do you keep them longer? Because you spend all the time to recruit and hire them. Like, why let them feel so burnt out, and why let them feel that they don't belong there in the company anymore, right? And then the midterm engagement is typically like, how engaged are they? And typically what is a good measurement for that is you ask your staff to rate from 1 to 10 like how likely are you going to be in this company a year from now? Like that's like the easiest way to measure engagement. Like if 50% says below 5, or actually anything below 7, like that's already not a good sign. Like you want to get 80-90% at 8 and above. Like that is the best. It's like asking whether you would refer a product to a friend, right? Or the other question is, would you refer another friend to join your company? So that would be a measurement of engagement as well, right? They will be highly engaged if you do you want to refer your friend to this company, right? So these two are like big indicators of retention and engagement. Actually, they're the best. There's no better way to say that you like this company than A, you still want to stay a year from now, B, you want to refer it to your friend. I think everything else is kind of noise, right? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
So yeah, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, because like we want to see like whether like they want to actually like still like stay in the company, or like apa to get reference as well, right? If you like, if they actually want to like recommend our company to other people, then it means like one way to say this, that there are the advocates of the company as well, so like they're the representative of the company. And yeah, I think that would be like great way to like measure like both retention and engagement as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
the
so
other
much.
one is the other one that is often asked. Actually, if you go to a lot of these HR tools and HR softwares, they have a lot of templates. So another one that is commonly asked is how confident are you with the leadership, right? And of course, all these should be anonymous, yeah. Otherwise, people won't be honest. So how confident are they with the leadership, the direction of the company? That also gives you an indicator of like, how how confident they feel with the business and the people who are leading the business. That's also a really good question. Yeah, to add.
Let, let me jump in on this one, Kevin. So we used to actually have an HR program that asked these questions, but the difficulty is because they're anonymous and we want to get the facts, they become very hard to trace, right? So what exactly is leading to this disengagement, or what is exactly leading to what exactly are we doing well? So my sort of direction I wanted to point HR in was we started inventorying everything we do in HR, right? So do we do celebrations? Do we do, let's say, performance reviews? Do we do all these little different things, right? And then we essentially test out each program through a public survey and say, does this program actually help you possibly transform? Does this program help you actually feel more engaged with the company? So we essentially rotate each of these programs, these services, as Shailene called them, into the microscope every month. So we can see, okay, what is it about each program that needs to be tweaked? When we get the anonymous survey, it's like, okay, all right, let's say you get 80% of people don't want to be here more than a year. Okay, but why? Right? What is it? What is it that specifically led to that?
Yeah.
And how much of it is contextual based on each person's personal experience, and how much of it is wide spectrum that is just overall? So we had trouble understanding that, but Kevin right now, the other Kevin, is actually experimenting with an anonymous survey. So putting some of these kind of like questions that are very private, I think, into the anonymous side to get more honest feedback about leadership. In fact, right now, do you have any feedback about that? Like after an anonymous survey, how would you take action to? I know we've actually strayed away from actually talking about sales now, but I guess everything is interconnected. But if you have an anonymous survey, how do you take action, and where do you specifically take action?
Jim, how big are you guys? How many people do you
We're
have?
about 38 people right now.
Okay. How many managers do you have?
Supposedly maybe about 7.
Okay.
Actually, maybe about 3.
Okay. So of course, like the first thing about these anonymous surveys, ideally you want them to explain, so that it's not just a yes no. And if people care enough, they will explain, right? Like I've been in positions where I care so much and I wrote like long essays. So you want to encourage that somehow, whether it's as a leader, and I think it all boils down to how much trust you have between each other and between the leaders and the leaders and your employees, right? Like the more they trust that their comments won't backfire, like the more openly they'll speak up. But you should also, or you and your leaders should also be able to create that open space to say like, we really want to know, and it's not because you're gonna go after anyone, but like you generally want to build a team or like a family that everybody can be openly talking about problems. So then that makes people comfortable. A lot of it is how the leaders communicate these engagement questions. The other thing is how you train your leaders. Because at the end of the day, no one person can manage all the responses. You should be able to train your managers to, one, solicit these responses, and two, handle these difficult questions or difficult individuals. Difficult in both ways. Like one, someone who cares a lot and are sharing their pain points transparently, and those who don't, right? So managers should be the one that you're able to train them enough to talk to the broader team, rather than you doing it all alone or the HR doing it all alone. So it's helpful to train your managers, and so that they can take on some of these responsibilities as well.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that, Kevin. The point made about, let's say, anonymous versus anonymous, we've actually discovered, I think Lilith recently implemented this, and also we were inspired by what the market, or maybe it was product development first, was we started giving like open 360 surveys, but I think that was more peer-to-peer feedback so that people could kind of understand where their weaknesses are. And that survey was actually made non-anonymous, and I was actually kind of like, everybody even wrote today on our all hands that was actually a really good idea. Do you think that there's a condition that, let's say, if there's enough trust, people will just say openly, and you don't need to have anonymous surveys. People just tell you, hey, look, it's I've got 3 months here, or I would refer this to 0 people exactly. Like can
I think
that ever happen?
Depends how often you do this. Like, of course, for smaller feedback stuff, like the day-to-day stuff, it's better to just say it as it is, and call things out. And I think the more you practice this, the better. But for an annual survey, right? Like, I think sometimes people take a bit more time to reflect on some things that are more crucial or more sensitive, that they want to have some anonymity, right? Unless you practice like a super, like you're a Netflix and you have this full candor transparency thing going on, which is super hard to achieve, right? Like, not least this part of the world. Like, you have to remember, you're from California, man. Like, you're not one of us. So we. So then you have to not, most often than not, people here are not fully transparent or they just don't have the courage, right? So you just have to adjust to the management style, and give a different channel.
Okay, fair enough. I like the way you pointed that out, because I was advocating for full transparency on everybody's salary today, and then somebody stopped me and they said, "Jing, you really shouldn't do that, right?" And I considered it, and I was like, and they but I was like, like, I feel, okay, well, this is a different issue. I feel like if we as leaders are not transparent, we don't control narrative then. Rumors then control narrative, or detractors control narrative. And I've realized if I want everybody to believe in the vision and the mission, then we need to put our money where our mouth is and show that we put our money where our mouth is, right? And not have any sort of distortion that happens there. So that was my core reason for believing in salary transparency.
Yeah, I think it takes a group of people that are super aligned to get there, and more often than not, the even husband and wives are not fully aligned most of the time. Like, what do you expect between employees and leaders, right? So it takes a very aligned group of people to be able to say, sure, I don't care. Like, we have this transparency, but it's very unrealistic in most organizations, because not everyone are 99% aligned. You can find people who are like 80% to run an organization where everyone knows where they're going. The next 3 to 5 years in a company, they will put in everything. But maybe if you want them to promise the next 30 years of their life, like the same as you as a business owner does, I think it's very unrealistic. So that is the reality of the circumstances, and you just have to accept it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Kevin, for that. Getting real. Okay. We've got just 8 more minutes, so let me drop the question on. Let's see who is involved in the process right now. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody have a question they would just like to bring up and ask Kevin? Anybody have a? Okay, Cynthia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir, and thank you, Kevin, for the time and for sharing that. Actually, I'd like to ask this question. So I'd like to know the perspective from the salesperson. But this is again, sorry, this is for hiring. What is your way, maybe what is your method to sell your company and you can attract the right candidate to your candidate, the candidate fit to your company.
So
do you have any tips on that?
One beautiful thing about selling is actually in general in life is listening. I think and you think it's very counterintuitive, but it's actually so true. I think the way I look at, and this is of course sales, but also recruitment, right? Recruitment is sales. Of course, firstly is establishing some level of trust, right? Like reaching out to someone and say, hey, like I'm from company Y, and I see that you have some experience in healthcare, and we're a healthcare company, and I thought you wanted to catch up, right? So I think building that rapport at the beginning is super important, because then they trust you enough to tell you more, right? So then the important thing about sales is actually asking the right questions. Like you just need to find out more about them so that whatever you're telling them will relate to them, right? So for me, I would ask them like, tell me why you decide to, stay in this company for 6 to 7 years. Like, I'm curious to hear more about where you're coming from, or tell me what you wanted to do when you graduated. I saw that you have a computer science degree, but you're doing hospitality now. Like, what happened, right? And or just gauge and get more answer, and from there they would understand that you are generally trying to know more about them, right? Then from there, use this information to pitch, right? So of course it has to be relevant. Like, it can't be completely irrelevant. So you have to find a connection, and then you can say, okay, I see that you spent like 6 months doing this healthcare project in, I don't know, Bali for this small NGO, and what I'm trying to tell you now is that you can go back to doing that passion, and this business will help you pursue that path that you wanted to do, right? And then it just goes on from there. So I think it's always about asking the right questions, and then getting a lot more information from them, and just showing them that you're a good listener. And the best thing is, like, even if it doesn't work out, like I always believe in like fate, and somehow the world is one big circle. Even if today this person is not for you, like, you just have to let them go, and you can just say, even though this doesn't work out today, I just still want to keep in touch, and for whatever reason we can connect again. Let's talk in the future, right? And have a really good closure, because one day this person will come back to you one way or another. Like, this person could hire you, or this person could be a business partner one day, or this person could be suitable for another role, right? But don't insist and persist too much that you're overselling yourself, right? Like, you shouldn't force something down a person. Like, if it really doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out. And the best thing you can do is you can ask them, do you know anyone you would refer? And now that you've left a good impression, they will refer someone to you. And that always works for me. Whether it's deals or whether it's recruiting, whether it's girlfriend, I'm kidding. Like that's not definitely not what you should go for. But it stops at recruiting and deals. But that's what you should always aim for, to build a long-lasting like relationship with people in general, or business partners, or recruitment.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing that. I think that's the things that we did previously with the FEB UGM, sir. So I think,
Yes.
yeah,
So now you've heard it twice today, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think we're already doing the right thing.
That's
Okay,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, just validating what you guys are doing right already. So that's good.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Cynthia. I've noticed that Kevin was actually listening to us too. He was asking specific questions about what our needs were, what did we mean by sales, and that I knew was already a really good start to this session. Maybe we have time for one more question, so I'm going to turn this over to Rama. Rama's currently doing some sales right now. Rama, do you have any questions for Kevin?
Oh yes, actually. Um, this is actually my first time doing an internship in the business development. And during my internship, I learned a lot about negotiating and also like talking with the property owners. And what do you think are the skills that like the most essential for business developer? And by saying this, and what are the like trainings that maybe a Bukit Vista can do to like develop those skills?
So what do you think is the most difficult thing about being an intern and doing business development, and also your challenges with property developers?
The challenge is maybe not getting the right owner, and also to convince them to really like doing a partnership with us. Probably that's the most
Hmm.
difficult.
And what are their main reasons when they say no to you? What are their main when you ask them like, oh, just want to know like why it didn't work out? Like what did they tell you?
Well, most of them they don't really like agree with the terms and condition that we provide to them. So like it's kind of hard to like give them more into it, because
Do you
like
think
this
they're just giving you? Do you think they're just giving you an excuse to say no? Like when they say, "Oh, the terms don't work," like, or is it really the terms don't work? Like, have you ever thought about it?
well, I think because of the like terms and condition, most of them because of the terms and condition, that's why they're not signing the contract. We usually always ask why they're not decided not to use our service. So like most of them say it's because of the terms and condition that doesn't match between us and them. So yeah, I think
Yeah. So
that's the most
so
difficult part.
yeah, got it. Yeah, I think Rama, like first of all, it's good that you're getting all these experience. But I just want to tell you, like being a salesperson is a long journey. Because you will slowly learn about the right way to talk to people and manage expectations, and you won't get it right away. And the best thing I can say is, you should just get used to. I mean, at this stage, not that you should for long term, but learn how to be turned down, right? But the most important thing about after you're being turned down is like you always should go to them and say, if there's any feedback, whether it's the product or you personally, like they should tell you, like you should always ask for it, right? And I think this is just in general, not just with sales. I think the reason is from there you get to learn what didn't you do right, but you also build a good relationship with them, right? And in terms of training, I think from there I can just sense a few things where potentially it's like qualifying, right? Maybe for the terms and condition, you want to be clear upfront in your first outreach, right? And if they really don't fit your business model, then let's not waste time to talk and say, okay, maybe when we have a different product, we can talk to you again. So you don't waste your time like going all the way, spending 2 weeks talking to them and like, oh wait, your terms and condition, like I can't do instant cancellation or whatever, right? So a few things that they can support you is like, how do you qualify the leads? right? So that you pick the ones that are okay with your terms and conditions, just to need to negotiate a little bit. Because sometimes when people go all the way and after you spend 1 month talking and they say, oh, terms and conditions not right, like it usually sounds like an excuse to me. Like if it's not right, we wouldn't have spent 1 whole month talking about it, because usually when you're in that stage, you're negotiating the terms. Like you're like saying, oh, 1 month or 1.5 months deposit or whatever, right? Like, so you have to set the right intent of the sales transaction from the early on, so you don't waste your time talking to a lead, right? So that's where I can see immediately how you can tweak how your pitches or Bukit Vista can share those things more clearly to your customers.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rama. Rama, any?
Thanks, Kevin.
No
That was
worries.
a really good answer.
All right. Okay, Kevin, we're out of time now. We're 2 minutes over time, but I want to say a big thank you, Kevin, on behalf of all the team here. It's been many years since we got to hang out, and Kevin, I think, is a man I highly respect in his entrepreneur journey. He's been through a lot of very formative experiences, and he's made, I think, a lot of hard choices actually too as well, but that actually define character. So Kevin is a person with integrity, with super high motivation and enormous capacity. Maybe one day our paths will cross again. We'll work together and collaborate on some projects. Kevin, tell
Yeah,
us a
man.
little bit about what you're doing right now. Like maybe just a quick pitch on
Yeah,
your
so
business.
I came back to help the family business, to help the run the business, and also to look at new ways we can distribute our services. So we're a commercial insurance agency. Anything to do with risk management or getting insurance covered for your business, we help companies manage their risks. And I think insurance is one of the largest industries in the world. It's a $5 trillion US industry, and it helps businesses and individuals overcome crises, right? Like if something bad happens to you, at least you have some financial security. I think that's always a good thing to have. So we're more on the general side. So when you're talking about like property, home, health insurance, but not so much life. So I'm focused in keeping the business going. We do have pretty significant history. So we've been around for 40 years, and now I'm trying to help future-proof this business, because it's one of the industries that's still quite behind. But I think it's moving forward to innovate, just like how the financial industry has innovated. So I think similarly for Indonesia, so many new companies like Cola and all these new businesses that are coming up with new models, like Parsapolis. So I think similarly, we have very strong interest in Indonesia, and we already have customers in Indonesia, and now we just need to have a more presence there. So we're finding the right partners to work with, and hopefully to scale this business, looking at online distribution and looking at insurance technology, and do more things. So I'm trying to bring all my Airbnb experience and previous technology experience to this 40-year-old traditional setting, and pretty having a pretty good time so far. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm so proud of you, Kevin, and it's good to see that we both we both became entrepreneurs and
Jing is great. Jing is super hustler all the way. I'm so proud to see him build like a team of 30 over people, and it's great that he's found you guys, right? Like I'm so excited for Indonesia, because everyone's so young and so curious, and it's good to hear all these good questions from you guys. I think Malaysia has a lot to be worried about, because there's so many young talents from Indonesia. I'm serious. I think a lot of people in Malaysia are a bit complacent, so it's good that you guys found someone like Jing to help lead you guys. I don't know why he's laughing. I'm just trying to be serious. But yeah, all the best, guys. All the best, and
thank you. I didn't
hopefully when I hopefully when I book a Bukit Vista, I'll be dealing with one of you. So all the best.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kevin. And that's
all right,
Kevin
guys.
Hoong,
Take it easy. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Terima kasih. Bye.